Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Let's Talk Real Life with Nato Manning. I'm your host, Coach Vernon Garrison, and you are now listening to WBIS Awesome Radio. This is the best channel that you could be listening to right now. In fact, you can find us on social media at Awesome Radio, the YouTube channel, Awesome Radio Facebook channel, and of course on your radio dial at 106.9 here in the Winterville, Greenville area. So thank you once again for joining us. Like, share, and subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, the host of Let's Talk Real Life with Nada Manning, Miss Nada Manning. How are you this evening?
Hello, I am doing well, and I hope everyone out there under my voice is doing just as well or better. I am glad to be back here this evening or tonight to let you all know that this is still talking some real life issues. We are beginning a new topic that is, I think, and Coach think as well, that is most pertinent to today's life, and it's called passionate. I'm calling it passionate participants. And I come up with that topic, folks, because we are in the season of giving and taking and hopefully being happy and joyous about many different things in many different ways. Passionate participants. The word passionate in itself, I think, might be self-explanatory in that it's an emotion that we are very serious about, something that we can digest and mull over and feel good about. We sometimes we feel good about it, and sometimes we don't. So I guess I better retract that. But being passionate is you giving your all. You're all into it. Passionate participants. Now, the topic, though, however, might be a little bit off for some of you in that it comes from a most recent incident. Well, recent to me. Last week or week before last incident with some children. And I'm sure many of you out there have heard about this going on today with children under age of 17, under the age of 16, like 13, 14-year olds that are seemingly taking the lead on some criminal activity. How is that passionate? It is passionate because the adults that's in charge of these youth are seemingly taking control of their livelihood. So it's passionate for them because they all into it, and the children themselves, because to the children it's a win-win. To some adults that think that way, it could be a win-win. But in actuality, it is not the right thing to do, so to speak, because these children are being used. They're being used because of their ages. They're underage. Therefore, being underage, they are not going to be charged or have a criminal record of any kind if they are 10, 12, 11, 13-year-olds. So these adults out here are using these children to do their transactions for them. Needless to say, those criminal activities involve stealing, drugs, any other type of wrongdoing. I think most of it is involving drugs and the lack thereof. Passionate participants. These children are participating in an activity that is going to put money in their pockets. They're trying to have dollars to use for themselves or maybe to help family at home. We don't know what's going on in their homes, these children, I mean. But I think that it is most inappropriate for adults to be using these children in that fashion because it's teaching them the wrong thing. It's teaching them that they can beat the system and go about doing what they need to do and not be touched by the law. What is it teaching them about the right thing? How is this helping those children in the long when those adults are gone? And these children are now young adults themselves. What have they learned from that activity that will help them in the future? That they will continue doing what they're doing? Are they, because they most likely feel like they're going to always be in a rut, so to speak, with family? We don't know. So we want to kind of open some ears and minds and hearts, especially now. I mean, it's supposed to be, it's a year-round thing, but especially now, the holidays are here. And many families are struggling. They struggled before COVID, so I can't blame it all on COVID. Some of them were struggling before then. But this new trend that's going about, where these children are being actually used and these children think that it's okay. It's not okay. And the adults that's forcing, well, I don't know how much forcing they're doing, but they're putting it in the hearts, these young hearts that are just still wet behind the ears is what I call them. All they see is $1. However way they can make, oh, I can make $100 and don't have to go to jail for it. Oh, well, to a 13-year-old, I guess now, I guess $100 to a 13-year-old is a lot of money. I don't know these days. Who's to say? But anyway, we want to talk about things such as that. And I start out by saying displaced children, displaced behavior issues that might be coming about in their homes. This is an easy blame thing. I think it's easy for the adults to blame the children that's involved with that because it takes the heat off them as adults. Well, the child is not going to do it unless an adult put it in their hearts and minds to do it. They don't know what to do. They weren't born to know this. They're not old enough to know where to go and who to go to and what to say. They're not old enough. So they're innocent when they start out doing this thing and they're being taken advantage of. I think it's wrong. I know it's wrong. Although families are going through some things, you know, we don't know the whole story behind the homes of these young kids. We don't know the whole story, but we do know this thing, that it is wrong to take advantage of any person, let alone children. So we want to talk about passion. This is passionate participants because I'm passionate about trying to put it out there to the world to wake up some folks that should know better. They should know better. This is not right. Coach, you have a comment?
Well,
not yet.
I'd have to. I gotta recognize the families that are experiencing mental health issues. Not everybody that we see that is what we consider lower class or on a poverty level are begging to stay in that position in their life. And so we got to look. I was a gardener at Lightham for 6 years. And I went in to work with families that were being accused of neglecting. And I did it 6 years. I saw a lot of families that were just like they were. They didn't have a whole lot of raising and a whole lot of upbringing of themselves. So the family was on that level. And it was very organic. It was on the level of where we do what we do to survive. Public assistance was, just a natural thing. They needed it. They got it. But their lifestyle, it was what it was. I didn't go in there and require them to have the lifestyle of a middle-class family and the education of a middle-class family just by waving my hand. It's that would be unfair because society has a place for people on that level, and it's called working on the front line. It's called job dependency. It's called cleaning up. It's called janitors, the people that actually do a very significant amount of work to make the world what it is right now, the minimum wage worker. So you can't say that part of society is the ugliest part of society and then turn around and say, oh, but we need you to come in and work at McDonald's. We need, because that's an oxymoron. You're making millions of dollars off of the working class, but then you're going to accuse them of being poor and sleeping on the street and using up money and using up resources in the city and committing crime. I think I just wanted to acknowledge there are legitimate people that have mental health issues. There are children that have mental health children. I was just looking at ADHD. Over 6 million children across America have that. And ADHD and depression and things of that nature. They are legitimate for adults that's got money, that's rich, that's not selling their children for drugs or sex trade. Why can't it be legitimate for somebody on a poverty level? It is. It's legitimate in both levels. Matter of fact, more rich and famous people might have mental health issues than anybody else. I'd have to look up that stat. So I just wanted to advocate there are people out there with real problems, and outside of those problems, they still make a great contribution to society. They would, if they were on your level, they would do just as much as you do or more. But they got that thing. One more thing I'm going to say to sort of, balance out the conversation, in which I certainly agree with the topic. Me being a criminal justice major and working in the detention center and maximum security and homeless shelters for years, I know, and group homes, I know the kids you're talking about. I'm also going to say I was one of those kids that you're talking about. Now, I didn't move drugs around. I might have carried a little marijuana a little bit, but I wasn't out on the corner selling it. I was in my house. Me and my daddy had a shot house. He sold liquor. This is after my mom and dad got divorced. He sold liquor and beer and Smirnoff vodka, Aristocrat vodka. Those out there that still drink it, you know what I'm talking about. So I was right there when he got drunk, too drunk to run the bar. I was 15, pouring dollar shots, 50-cent shots for the grown men. They were playing poker in the house. When the card game was over, you had to pay the house. My dad was like, boy, go there to the table there and get that house money. So I go over there, and they rake it all together, and I rake in my hand, and I carry it on over there to my pops. It was, now I'm leading into where some of the children are. They're just doing it for the family. They grew up or growing up or been put in that position, and they know it's something that they got to do. They don't have the conviction. They know it's wrong. They don't have the conviction because it's sort of like a way of life, if that's the way that they've been living. Now, they're familiar with the police. They've been trained and set up so they won't get called. And if they do, what to say and what not to say. Now you're talking about the neglect and abuse aspect of family members, grown people who know better and should know better, but they don't know how to do better, some of them. They won't, very classy contributors to society to start with. They were just on their level. They are who they are. And they were never any less of a person or people to me. And the Bible said there's nothing new under the sun. There have been kids doing this forever. And now it's the juveniles, go to the juvenile detention center. Sure, a kid is going to get out and not do as much time. And they're just trying to eat for a day because it don't make sense to put your children in the game. So that's just not a logical thing. But when you living like that, your logic and my logic is two different logics. I'm trying to eat. I'm trying to have a little bit of money. And so when you get put in those situations, you don't have a job, somebody's been to prison, they work trying to find a job, they couldn't find a job. It's a way of life that my family used to say, go next door and borrow some sugar. And you go knock on the door next door and say, we out of sugar, can we borrow some? And you carrying the mail. So these kids go over there and take these drugs over there to so-and-so house. They may or may not know. So I didn't mean to try to normalize it, but if you work in it, and I'm working with DSS workers, if you're there, you see it. And be honest, it's not so surprising, but it's bad. I gotta say now, it doesn't mean that the children are going to grow up and do the same thing. It means that they might look to it, they might try it, but it's not a given that just because you had a little crime family, that they're going to grow up and do the same thing. That it might mean that they're not inspired to do other things than that, but between home and school, this is the last thing I'm gonna say. I was running right before the summer ended out at South Greenwood Gym, and I heard the principal do the morning message to the students right here at South Elementary School. So back in the day, they just used to come on the intercom and read I don't know if y'all had intercoms. They used to come on the intercom and read announcements for the morning. And then obviously they read the school lunch menu. Well, they still do announcements, and boy, did they read the school menu. But then right after the principal read the school menu, she said, I want to take a moment to have everybody think on this. Today is the great day, and it's this, that, and the other. And think, so in other words, she gave an affirmation over the intercom to the students. So somewhere, even as the police officer, even if you run into me out in the street, people are at the children in some way, shape, or form that's doing this. And I think we'll win more than we lose. But the kids are doing the wrong thing. But I would say it's not always their fault that they get into it. But if they grow up, it might always be their fault if they stay in it. And I rest my case, Your Honor.
Well, all right. And so, well, let me say this. Yes, we did have intercoms, sir. I mean, we were not back in the 1800s. There were intercoms. There were announcements being made, yes, and encouraging words by the principal or whoever was in charge that day.
Oh.
And that is helpful. That is helpful. Everything, it was a couple of things that I beg to differ on with what you said, but for the most part, I agree with everything that you did say. And the idea that these students are exposed, and of course, that's why you are you and I'm me. That's why you're the man and I'm the woman, because we have different opinions. Men and women don't always have the same opinion and ideas about certain things, and that's okay. I'm not knocking that. That's why we have the show, so that they can hear your voice and they can hear mine. I'm a mama, I'm a grandmama, you're a granddad and a daddy. So man and a woman. So of course, we're going to have different views. That's what makes it interesting with these children. Because truth be told, in most households that have a mother and a father or grandma and granddad, they don't always agree on everything. Granddad might say, oh, leave the boy alone. He's going to be all right. Grandma's saying, no, he's not going to be all right. So many times there are contradictions in such as this right here. And you're right. It's nothing new under the sun. These things that's happening, it's just now for some of us that have not been exposed to it like others. It just takes a different spin on how adults, grown folks, will, in my opinion, just flat out using the children to get what they need to get done. And you're right, there are reasons why things happen the way they do. We don't know the story behind these households. Like you said, this is something they may need some food, they may need some shoes on their feet. We don't know.
But well, you said it. You do know that. You just said it.
When I say we don't know what's going on in all the households. It's different in every household.
Well, yeah, it is. But they are, they feel like it's valid reasons to avert the system because sometimes the system don't give them a chance. But yeah, they do it for varied reasons.
That's true. And sometimes, flat out, we're talking real life. This is real life. Flat out, there are many people that do know what to do. They just choose to do what they're doing. They just don't want to do the other thing that they are capable of doing. They choose to go left when they can really go right. They don't have to go left. They're choosing to do that. Which in essence, when they're choosing to go that route, some of them fail to see, and some of them know exactly what they're doing, how it's affecting the children. And the chain goes on. Each link just connects to the next link, next generation. Like we're saying, it's nothing new under the sun. So with that in mind, these children, when they do grow older, you're right, they don't always fall off. Some of them do make it and do really, really well. You admitted that you had some experiences yourself. And I dare say you haven't done half bad yourself. So you are an example of taking a different route, even though you were exposed to whatever it was you were doing with your dad. You thought what at that time? Did you think it was okay to do what you were doing? Did you know at your age, 13, 14, 15 years old, that it was not right? But you was doing that because your dad wanted you to do it. The love that you had for him, you were doing as you were told without any apprehensions at all. Did you know better? You just went on and did it because that's what you were asked to do.
I went on and did it because that's what I was asked to do. And the thing is, what I said is I didn't say it wasn't right. I didn't say it was right. I just said that I didn't have the conviction. So that means you don't judge it. I mean, I went to the store to go get wine and liquor for my dad, and the store owner would give it to me, because I was like, okay, I'm getting this for my daddy. And he knew exactly who he was sending it to. And I didn't stop and drink it or anything, you know what I'm saying? But you see how it was just a factor. So what now?
You were a carrier.
Yeah, I'd say I was a carrier, if you will. I managed supply and demand.
And I'm not saying, and I don't mean to be judging anybody. I'm just saying that in some cases, like yours is a prime example, it was what it was. But some of these crimes that are being done that I have been listening to are not always just carrying. They're out there stealing. They're out there breaking into the stores, tearing up the windows. All that is nothing new under the sun. I know that. So why is that? What is that all about? That's taking a different spin. That's more than a carrier, than kind of sort of.
Here's a judicial point of view here. A girl can't give consent to have sex with a boy under the age of 16. The reason is she doesn't really have the mindset to manage her body in that way. She doesn't have the mental development. I'm talking about normal development of a child. So that's what I'm saying to you. A child doesn't have that thought, that conviction as deep as an adult would. So we don't allow them to make decisions for themselves under the age of 16 unless they've been emancipated and the court says, you really want to leave your house, don't you? You really don't want to be under your parents. And you have to go to court to get emancipated before you can become an adult if you're under 16. Now, forgive me if I get the ages wrong, but the mentality of a child that's going to steal something for their parents or stealing something from a store is of a challenge, a game, a young thug. Sometimes they be 12, 13, 14, and they're just as arrogant as they can be. They're just as mean. But I still can say that I know that they are not all responsible for their own mentality. That is them,
Right.
yes.
Right.
They know it's wrong, yes. But that's why we have the law that we don't try a child as an adult unless they go far out there. So they they know right from wrong. They just don't know as much right and as much wrong as we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that they're not doing what they're doing voluntarily or involuntarily. I'm just saying that they don't have the same conviction. So it's more on the parents than it is the child, because nowadays you see all these major cases with kids doing stuff in the news where their parents have been referred to DSS, and some of the parents are getting charged for neglect and abuse of that child. And they're more culpable than the child is.
They're more what than the child?
Culpable or more responsible. They'll be punished just as much as the child, or accountable as the child, for allowing that child to be in that environment.
Right. Yeah. And rightly so. But then there you go. Now, the parents are going to be charged. Some of them will be incarcerated. Now, what happens to the child? Right.
Oh yeah, you got a whole nother world that you're dealing with right there with child and family court and things of that nature. Yeah, you got a child that's got some bad behaviors. That's a matter of time that you got to show him some good stuff. You got to get him out of that environment. Sometimes there's a lot that it's a ticking clock. Could be a ticking time bomb that you can get to that child before he's 18 or 19, that he's stuck in that pattern and decides to start his own little drug dealing business.
And that's where it all begins all over again. So my point is being passionate about, there's two sides of being passionate. We have the adult side, which is our side, and then we have their side, which is the side that they are actually doing crime, whatever it is they're passionate about doing it. So we're all participants, but in different categories, if that makes any sense. So going back to the example that you just said, the children are now what? In the system, so to speak, because the parents are no longer around. So it creates yet another problem. So we're starting all over again with the younger crowd. And I guess the point that I'm trying to make is, what seems to me it ought to be something that can be done, something that can help resolve some of these issues with our youth, because it's continuing. I don't think personally that it's getting any better.
Well, what happens is now every system out here has works off of what you call a person-centered plan. DSS, mental health, even the hospital and medical care. When you get a caseworker involved, when a child gets into trouble with the law, they're brought into the system in some way, shape, or form or fashion, or through a referral. And a person-centered plan is that where there's a case manager who, well, I would give this scenario to be short. It's sort of like wraparound services, meaning that person-centered plan means he needs these interventions in his life. He needs a club. He needs a group of positive peers in his life. He may need 6 months in a group home to remove him out of the environment. He needs some moral support, counseling, the church. He needs some educational support at school. He needs some protection and guidance. So the social worker is coming in, checking the family, the food. So a PCP plan, that person is in the center of that plan. So that's what most of the agencies participate in, that child's well-being, which to me is all professionals, but it's just a reflection of how the community should surround every person and every child that's in the system. So that's what we do as professionals. And if you're a friend of the family and they're having meetings, you are also invited as one of the stakeholders, because you live in that community that that child lives in. And so you got to, even if the child is in a group home, all the stakeholders around that child, the clinical caseworker or the behavioral health environment that that child is in, even if that child is at home, the mentor program that we have going rampant, that's been in place now for 10 years. Used to be Willie M, but now they enhanced it. Even that, a child is at home, I would come over and see your child, but I'm still taking him, hey, let's go to church together. Let's go to the Boys and Girls Club together. Let's go fishing together. Let's go visit your uncle. Let's go visit your dad, even if he just got supervised visits. So that's the plan that people have in the city.
But yeah, all of that exists, Coach, but somewhere something is missing, because it seems to me that it's not getting any better.
Well, that's you're entitled to that, and I think that in some situations you'd have to read the needs assessment report for this area to see what the youth setbacks are. The youth needs progress report is for juvenile detention center, for juvenile delinquency in the community as a whole. You'd have to read that to actually see how the numbers are, and if it's getting worse than 3 years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
So then I take it you are, I'm getting the impression that you have heard of such as I'm describing, with the youth doing these crimes and actually getting away with it in a sense because of their age. You this is nothing new to you, that, and it's not new to me either. I mean, I haven't been sleeping in a guarded room that I haven't heard anything about such as this, but I don't know, for some reason or another, just this most recent incident that's coming up with these different states just caught my attention, because it's just visualized all over social media that these children are doing these things. And where are the parents? The parents, and that's another thing, getting to the parents part. I guess a parent can only do but so much, right? There's no guessing in it. I know parents can only do so much, but that's where the mentors come in that you were describing just now. These other programs that's in place. If the issue is getting bigger and broader, then something is not working. Is it because the parents are falling off? Some parents are small framed and they cannot handle their youth, because truth be told, the children are coming up now bigger than the parents. So what happens to the parent that's small framed, cannot no longer handle their 12 or 13-year-old because they are already almost 6 feet tall? That's what the issue is that I'm also trying to address. What happens to that child then? He or she continues to go their way, which is the wrong way. But the parents, they can't help that they're small frame. So then what? That's where the other coaches and all of that come into place. But something is still missing. There must not be enough coaches or enough mentors must not be enough passionate participants to carry this thing to fruition, to really make a difference. Some programs are working, but most of them are not.
Well, I already see here, I just looked it up, the violent crime in juveniles in 2022 increased. Okay. So if you're looking at that, and then you'd have to look at, and that was in North Carolina. So it definitely, youth violence, there's definitely a surge. Let's pick the one I can see in Wake County. 74% of 187 violent offenses by youth 17 and under involved firearms in June 2020, in June 2021 and July 2022, up 56% from previous fiscal years. Okay. Now let me share something. Go ahead. What are you about to say? Cause you spitting it out.
Yeah, I mean, those statistics are fine, but my question is, something is lacking. Something is missing. Why the numbers are increased like they are?
Okay, got you. Now let me say this. What have we been doing the last 5 years? Arming ourselves for the adults now, walking through the street with guns, talking about our rights. What have we adults been doing, talking about we're going to go in and take over the Capitol, insurrections? What have we been doing? Go and get our concealed carry weapons, guns, so we can protect our families. Now you're going to ask me why the children can't get locked and loaded? What kind of question is that? There's a parallel right there.
Yeah, but that's not solving the problem.
It doesn't mean, no, I didn't say it wasn't solving the problem. You're asking me two different questions. You're asking me why, and I just say gun violence went up. What? You got mass shootings?
Okay, the examples are out there. The bad examples are out there, yes.
So now, and what do kids do? Let's stay right here. What do kids do? They look at us as adults.
Yes.
So yes. I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm just going to say it. That spike in youth violence, where 74% of those weapons came from adults that were leaving them in their cars. The cars won't lock. The kids get their hands on the guns. The kids break into people's houses and steal them. So now you cannot blame parents totally, because it's the way that I'm talking with my hands. I ain't never done this. It's kind of fun. It's the way we are living now. So I'm not going to say it's a busted up family. That's because that's the reason why the kid got the gun.
I'm not saying that either. I'm saying that this is the issue, and what do we do?
Okay, now you're saying, what do we do? Now, there are several initiatives to deal with gun violence, but what I just said right there, well, let me finish. You asked me a question there. Let me answer it. There are several initiatives out dealing with gun violence based on those statistics. In Chicago, Philadelphia, blah, blah, blah. They got shot spotters. If I shot a gun outside right now, there's an antenna right here in the city of Greenville that will pick up that gunshot. No, it's a gunshot from a firework, from anything. There's technology involved. They got all over the sheriff's department's public announcements now is put your gun away, lock it up. People are walking around checking doors on your cars, and if they find your door open, they go in. If your door is locked, they keep it moving. Me and Sergeant Darnell was just talking about this a week ago. That's how the kids are getting the guns.
Okay.
To solve the problem, we have to control our weapons if we want to act like we are going to protect the world, and we want to protect somebody in the store when a mass shooter comes in. We want to be the one to pull out the gun and take them out. but we got to lock our guns up.
And I agree with you.
So that's one of the resolutions, one of them.
So it goes back to the parents, just like I said, the adults, how we carry ourselves as adults weighs, I would say, 90% of how the children end up. I won't say 100% because children do have a mind of their own. They do involve themselves in some other adults outside of their household. So I'm going to say 90% of their behavior stems from home discipline.
Home discipline and me living right next door to them.
Right.
How many times
community discipline? Huh?
Yeah, community. Because I pay attention to you. If I grew up in your neighborhood, you might back in the day, you might give me candy. I might see you, even if I don't know you. We know your behaviors. You turn your lights out at this point. You tell us to stop throwing rocks because we hit your house. The community is responsible for the child, especially when he leaves the house or she leaves the house. And right now we got the street justice going on with the gangs and the children. I believe they are trying to carry out rules and regulations in the gang from old school gangs. Old school gangs, you don't snitch. Snitches get stitches. But these kids don't even know how to do street justice like the OGs did back in the day. So they just shoot at anything.
Yeah. And we are down to how many minutes? 8?
Oh, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, 44.
So I want to end this session by coming up with some ideas to put out there to the folks. We've made some valid points. We all can see what time it is and how things are going in today's time. And I'm at the point where I said, Lord, it must be something else that can be done to help remedy. It won't solve the whole thing, but put a big dent in it, because these children are in the position of just being totally out of control. And they're starting younger and younger and younger. So what do we do? Which is my original question.
Keep doing every hand on deck.
Yeah. So with those of us who are trying to make a difference, then we should focus more on the adults to kind of put them on deck, so to speak.
All hands on deck, every aspect. We need people who are gifted to work with children. We need people who are gifted to work with caregivers, teachers. We need people across the whole spectrum. Get involved.
Passionate participants that really want to do something, that really want to stick with it no matter the cost. It's called sacrifice. It's a service that we are all responsible for. Just because it's not my biological child does not mean I should not have an interest invested in him or her.
Well, he's going to go steal your lawnmower, so it is your child. You are responsible to the community. That's right.
That's exactly right. And so that's where we are. So we want to then find out. You sound like more of an expert than I am. You've been out there amongst the who's and the wheres and the how comes. And I'm just saying, folks, that with the Lord's help, I am a willing participant that's willing to put forth the effort, find some kind of program or participate in a program, enhance an existing program to do something about the issues that we have, because our children. Anyway, we are running out of time. And I think that Coach is about finished making his point. Are you, sir?
I just love everybody. And we all got to love each other. And we got to get with them kids. But Lord knows the adults who don't look like children, you cannot assume that everybody's got the same gift that you got to be a parent. They don't. Right. Some parents just don't. They just look the part. So I'm not putting parents down. I need support. I remember when my child was cutting up. Thank God he made it through. but I needed support. And I had a mentor at that time when my son was 16, 15. So I know families needed them hormones is to what's ferocious. It'll change a good child into looking like that child could be a little demon or something. God forgive me, I'm not trying to do demonology, but
And
the
that's
children
another
can
thing.
make it.
Yeah, and that's another thing, real quick. You find those children that are brought up properly, and
Yeah,
they become victims out there because they're trying to make friends and they make wrong choices. Where the parents or the adults that's responsible for them spend more time with them and talk to them, and stop keeping the attitude that, well, I can't talk to him, I can't do nothing with him, you can't do nothing with. We have to stop saying that because children are listening to that and they are just thriving on that very statement. Well, they can't do nothing with me no way, so I may as well keep on doing what I'm doing. No.
Never stop working with them, but I'm gonna tell you, them kids will make your day bad.
Yeah,
So
I believe. Yeah. And a lot of them, for whatever reason. Yeah, and a lot of them, for whatever reason, are really doing it for attention.
They don't even know how to do wrong. Some of them doing wrong, and they don't even know how to do it. They don't even know how to lie good, some of them.
Right.
So the kids will take you there. I'm taking up for the parents now.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to deal with this growing up, but yes.
And the parents need support. The parents need support as well. So I just want to end this session by saying that. And it is my desire, with the Lord's help, that I can kind of initiate some type of program or something that can help with the existing problems that we're having with our children. I'm in a position to do that. I have the time to do that, and I have the passion with the Lord's help. So, amen. Now, we want to end this session tonight with a prayer. First of all, we want to thank God for this opportunity. Some very good information, very pertinent to today's time. So, Father God, we want to thank you for this. We look to you for all the help and the support because we know that you got it. You got it all. So we want to just thank you for the opportunity to put it out here to this world, those that are listening, that there are some people out here that really, really genuinely care, that really, really want to make a difference, that really, really want to help these children because they are babies and they need to be guided. They cannot bring themselves up, Lord. So we need you to help us to help them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. WB